Hey, you guys, what's up? It's Ashley. Welcome to the Tired Witches podcast. As always, I am here with my fabulous co host, Olivia, and we are here for part 2 of our Binding 13 deep dive. We are deep diving all of the Boys of Tommen books. We are on part 2 of however many parts this whole entire series will be, considering we still don't have all of the books yet. Olivia, how are you doing on this Wednesday morning?
Doing good. It is Wednesday right before Thanksgiving, so we are kind of trying to get our thoughts out and then take some time with our family tomorrow. We are spending time with our families and reading Binding 13 to dive deeper into this.
Yeah, seriously. So, just a little bit of a summary. In today's episode, we're picking up right after the Schoolboy Shield game and diving into all the chaos that follows. We're talking about Johnny and Shannon being absolutely incapable of staying away from each other, even when they really should. We get a lot more insight into Lizzie and Hughie's dynamic, and yes, possibly Pierce inserting himself in ways that feel a little too manipulative for comfort. We're also breaking down Gibsie and Claire's tension-filled moments, and of course, the fallout from that infamous newspaper article about Johnny and Shannon. We'll be talking about how both families react and how those reactions couldn't be more different. And then, of course, I'm happy because in this part 2, we get more Joey.
Yes, we get a lot more Joey, and spoiler alert, I cried while rereading some of this, honestly, just because I love Joey so much, and it reminds me so much of my childhood. Doing a deep dive into this, you kind of are able to break down even more moments that you relate to or see yourself in these characters or see your family members in these characters. So I think that's kind of fascinating.
Yes, now before we dive in, the Boys of Tommen series does deal with some deeply heavy, emotional, and triggering themes. Since we are breaking down the books in detail, these topics will naturally come up in our discussions. Please take care of yourself. If you need to pause, if you can't listen to certain topics, please skip ahead. As always, we will have timestamps. Well, since obviously these deep dives are lengthy and chatty, let's just get right into it.
Right into it. We left off last time. We stopped at right after chapter 10. So today we'll pick up on chapter 11, and we have Johnny's POV here. So what's fascinating about this is you get kind of Johnny sulking because he feels like he's been rejected for the first time ever, and he's not. We see this quite a bit actually in this book. Him feeling emotions he's not used to feeling.
Yes.
You know, and rejection being one of them with Shannon. He doesn't understand. Most of them are feelings towards Shannon that he's just never experienced before. He's
Yeah,
like,
and I also want to point out, because he even said that he doesn't know why, but at that game he felt overwhelmed and he went to Shannon for like a moment of reprieve, and then she left.
Yeah.
So this was all very new for him. First of all, he doesn't seek people out during his games. He's very focused on his games. And then she kind of rejected him, as he said. So he's
That's
just
what he
doing a
views
lot
it
of
as,
things.
right? He views it as rejection.
Yeah.
As a reader, you know that it's not rejection. You know that she has no idea what the fuck is going on.
He says he's sulking over something he couldn't figure out.
Yeah. Is this what rejection feels like?
Yeah. If so, it fucking sucked.
Yeah. What a mood, buddy. What a mood. So I think that's fascinating because, like I said, as a reader, you know Shannon didn't reject him. She's just she's a 15-year-old girl. She's confused as to what the hell is happening, and that's a normal reaction.
Absolutely.
So I think, and
but,
also
Johnny has women throwing themselves at him, so he's just he doesn't understand.
Yeah. So they're at the Schoolboy Shield party, which is being held at Hughie Big's house, of course, as all the parties are held at the Big's house.
Which, shout out to Sinead for being the party mom host, because as a mom, no. I'm like, you would go to the parties, we're not hosting.
With like rugby players too, they're dirty.
My son plays football and has played football since he was 5, so no. I'm not hosting the parties. We're not doing it.
Yeah, you know those boys are filthy.
It's disgusting. No.
But what I find fascinating about this is it's at the Big's house, but we don't get any mention of Hughie. We have no idea where Hughie is.
Or Claire. Because Johnny had even said, well, why aren't you coming to the party? It's your best friend's house.
Yeah.
So, and the reason I mentioned we don't see Claire either is because there's a little part in here with Gibsie and girls swooning over him, so
Oh, it's fascinating. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And then once again, this is Hughie's house. No mention of it, but who do we have a mention of here? We have a mention of
Patrick Feely.
Oh, jinx. Patrick Feely we have a mention of, and it's one of the more interesting mentions because he comes in and he's wanting to leave early. And he's not drinking.
Yes. Now, Johnny also does make a note about him, about, I like that about him. He didn't push. If it wasn't his business, he didn't ask to know.
Yes. Once again, that goes back to what we know about Feely is that he keeps himself. He's very quiet. He doesn't let anybody in. Something that we have snippets of Hughie even saying. You know, he doesn't even let his friends in. You get that here with Johnny. But I do find it very fascinating that Feely is trying to get out of there. Why is he trying to get out of here? Now, we have theorized that this is a very important night for other characters. And I think we get a little glimpse of that here. A little teaser of
just in hindsight, to look at a calendar, this is the last weekend of February. So we are about 3 to 4 weeks away from the Dublin trip.
Yes.
And
yes.
I think this is where things are really starting to build towards that.
With our other characters. Especially because we know in Johnny and Shannon's books, Johnny and Shannon are focused on Johnny and Shannon. Especially Johnny. He has no idea what the fuck is happening. But that's really all I got from this chapter, chapter 11. I mean, you get Gibsie.
So I guess, like I said, I got a little bit more. It's nothing big. I mean, the Gibsie and Claire stands of the world might want to burn me at the stake, but I mean, we talked a lot in the last episode about how Claire and Gibsie's relationship in this B13 is very odd to me.
Yeah. It's different than what we see in the other books.
Yeah, because we see in R10, you know, that they are inseparable. Constantly together. I mean, I don't even need their POV to know that those two are glued to the hip. Yeah. So we kind of talked about how maybe they just, until Shannon got there, I don't really think they interact at school together all that much. I mean, for the simple fact, Johnny didn't know her name.
Yeah.
And this is his best friend. So I just don't think Claire and Gibsie really talk that much at school. And so here we are at their party. And like I said, neither of the Biggs children are mentioned in this chapter. And when Patrick and Johnny are trying to leave, that's when Gibsie says, no, let's party. And then Gibsie starts to make a speech. And he's like, I have a little song I'd like to sing for the special person in my life. Oohs and ahs came from a group of girls in the doorway. And then that's when he starts talking about Johnny. So, I mean, clearly he's at this party with lots of girls around him. Where is Claire? I find the Claire and Gibsie stuff in this B13 interesting.
Well, also, with this snippet of Gibsie calling all the teammates over, once again, you see nothing of Hughie. But you get what, Robbie coming over, you get Luke coming over. Those, they are mentioned, but Hughie Biggs is not mentioned at all here, which is very, very.
And then, like I said, we have Feely wanting to leave early. So then we move into chapter 12. And chapter 12 is going to take place 2 days later, late Sunday night. This is also, I think this is probably one of the first instances in the tandem where you get chapters back to back. So like this exact chapter you're going to see in Joey's perspective in Redeeming 6.
Yeah.
I also noted in this chapter, Aoife is pregnant at this time and no one, not even herself, knows. I believe Casey is actually going to bring it up to her tomorrow at school.
Okay. Yeah, fascinating.
Yes.
What we have here is that Aoife's sleeping over, right? That's also fascinating. Okay. And Shannon's like, I guess they're at the age where that's acceptable.
It was never acceptable when I was a teenager. Not even for my friends.
Never acceptable for me, to be quite honest.
I think Ireland is a whole different world.
Maybe, yeah. Because, like I said, I got a boyfriend and my dad put bars on my window. So, very different. Very, very different realities here. We start getting a little more about Joey here as well. He's going to the store late, and it's implied he's going to the store for condoms.
Yes, and Shannon does make a joke. Yeah. I'm too young to be an auntie.
I immediately
and there's already a nephew cooking at this point.
Yeah. So this is our first hint that Aoife's pregnant. Our first little Easter egg.
Yeah,
right?
Little teaser.
And then Claire gives her a call, right? And I find it interesting, this phone call, because Claire mentions the usual gang is going.
I wrote this down too. So, to Claire, the usual gang is her, Gibsie, Hughie, Katie, Pierce,
Yes.
Lizzie, Patrick, Johnny, and now Shannon.
Lizzie, whom we know based on R10, isolates herself from the friend group and really probably doesn't get involved until 2005. So
This makes me wonder that there's probably a lot that happens in the fall of 2004.
yeah,
I'm
that's what I'm
wondering.
like. But Pierce is considered part of the usual
And
gang.
she names him before Lizzie. That part
Yes.
really irked me.
I was like, what is this? This is so strange.
Yes.
So Pierce and Lizzie are, according to Claire,
Lumped together.
constantly hanging out with the entire group. That's so strange to me. Shannon straight says, why am I invited? I'm only your and Lizzie's friend. She straight says she has no connection with anybody else that was mentioned there, that she's only considers herself Lizzie and Claire's friend. Okay? And this is almost in March, you guys. Like, so that should tell you how close of a friendship Lizzie, Claire, and Shannon were, right? Shannon doesn't interact with anybody else. I also might get some shit on here from the Claire stands. In my opinion, this is our first real hint of Claire being the bulldozer, right?
I had friends like this.
Well, Johnny's one of them, right?
Yeah, no, so here's the thing. A lot of people, I think this is just going to be whether you like this or not. If your preference. I didn't. So I was a very timid person like Shannon. I talked about that a lot on last week's episode. I didn't even start dating until I was 20. I went on like a few dates in high school, but it made me so nervous. And I had a few friends that were like Claire. Their intentions were good, trust me, but they just pushed me to a point where I was breaking, and I'm like, I can't, I don't want to put myself out there. I don't want to do this. It's not worth it to me. And some of them wouldn't back down. So I can kind of see both points. Obviously, Claire has good intentions. This is exciting for her. This is Gibsie's best friend, but at the same time, she's not realizing, because Shannon makes it a point. She's like, I don't want anybody to know I like Johnny. Just you and Lizzie. No one else. Please do not tell
she says,
anyone else.
Don't even tell Lizzie. She says, don't even tell Lizzie, you know? But I think what's fascinating here is, and I'm not saying Claire's personality.
Well, Lizzie knew she liked him because remember she caught her looking at him.
She says, don't even tell Lizzie here, because she openly admits that she does like Johnny. So she hasn't openly admitted that she liked Johnny to Lizzie. Lizzie knows. Because
Lizzie knows, yeah.
But
yeah, she doesn't want anyone to know. And so, like, Claire making comments like, oh, you can all come over to my house and I'll send you guys up to my bedroom. Like, that's gonna make someone with high anxiety who's never touched a boy really nervous and not feeling okay.
I don't even think that's it, because Claire starts pushing for her to come out and Shannon cannot come out. And she's trying to be like, no, I cannot. And Claire is pushing here. She is pushing. And Shannon's like, please don't make me say out loud why I cannot go. You know, please.
Because that's the thing, is Claire knows.
Claire knows. And it's hinted, this is the second time that it's really heavily hinted that Claire is aware that there's severe problems at home. But Claire just wants to hang out with her friend, and I think she feels like maybe it'll be different. You know, she Claire's sunshine. She doesn't think the worst of people, you know? And if she's not seeing it physically in front of her eyes, it's easier to tunnel, you know, for her, in my opinion. So I don't think her behavior here is negative. I just feel like this is our first instance of her being more Johnny-like, bulldozer-like, you know?
Because Shannon, we said this also in last week's episode, Shannon makes a note that Claire gets overly excited, and I think this is an instance of that. Like, I take it back to, this is Gibsie's best friend. So, like, to Claire, this is, like, a huge, big deal, you know? So I think she just sees her excitement for it, and that kind of overrides the rest of her thinking, you know?
But also Gibsie's best friend, but their interactions are so weird.
And we will get into that at the lunch table.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my god, I can't wait to get the lunch table, so I'm gonna be quite honest with you. So that's really what I got from here. Those were the little tidbits I picked up from chapter 12. We're moving along storyline wise, but we're not getting a lot of detail right now. It's little other hints, small to leading up to bigger moments, is what I feel like. Like, this is the calm before the storm that we know is coming, right? So, did you pick up anything else from chapter 12?
No, just like I said, I just really think, nothing against Claire. I just think Claire's that type of friend. Like Shannon stated, she gets overly excited. And I think that just overpowers the way that she behaves about stuff,
Yeah.
Because, I mean, let's look at Taming Seven. A lot of people like to dissect the way, like, a little bit of it was catty, but, like, when she's talking about everybody, like, she's sitting there with excitement. The camping trip, everything was excitement. Everything's exciting to Claire. And I guess, in this series with all this trauma, there should be that one bright, shining light that gets excited about things.
And I think we also have to look at. We know that before Shannon gets to Tommen, that the group is really fractured because Lizzie has isolated herself. So this is Claire possibly thinking things might start going back to the way.
That too. We've talked a lot over the months about how we felt like Shannon returning to Tommen was going to be like this catalyst of forming the actual Core 10. And I could see that. I just think that the messiness with Hughie and Lizzie and that Pierce stuff in the fall of 2003 just created this weird dynamic. First of all, we haven't really seen a whole lot of that. But I keep going back to Claire and Gibsie in this book is weird to me.
I
How they
agree.
interact with each other.
I 100% agree. And we'll see a lot more of that weird interactions coming down the line.
Yeah, okay, so let's get into chapter 13. So
Okay.
this is the following day. So now
This
we
is.
are at 3 days after the Schoolboy Shield game.
I pick up immediately here Johnny constantly being touched inappropriately by women. And no one bats an eye. Like, he mentions it here. I had space to breathe and not have girls groping me and touching my back every 15 seconds. Like, that's a problem. That this is the normal for this guy. That's a big problem. That he has to find a safe space where girls won't touch him. And no one's calling this out. Of like, this is really problematic behavior. Leave this guy alone.
Well, I think it just really shows to me. I mean, obviously, we know for a fact his parents have not been around, but I don't think they had these discussions with him. Clearly, John Kavanagh did not sit down and have a birds and the bees talk with Johnny, because I'm sorry, but when it comes to talking to your kids about sex, it's more than just what the act is.
Yes, agreed.
And I think a lot of these big conversations just never happened for Johnny.
Well, he had to grow up on his own because he was left alone quite
I mean, for the simple fact, this was a big topic last week's episode. Johnny does not see what Dee is doing to Gibsie as a bad thing.
Yeah, it's just because it's normal in the way. It's normal.
I mean, he lost his virginity at 13 to a 16-year-old, so to him, it's just another day.
Yeah, girls touching him inappropriately, even though it's unwanted, just another day.
He does say when he's talking about, like, not having these girls around, he likes to sit in the same spot every day, kind of the other guys can kind of shield him, but we did make an important note. We actually discovered this months ago. Hughie and Feely were not at lunch that day because they were in detention. And I thought this was really an interesting fact to put in here to be a throwaway line.
Oh, it's definitely important. Why? Especially because we know Hughie is a star student, right? He doesn't usually get in trouble at school. So what has happened here? And the fact that both of them are in detention together.
This is the Monday after that game and the party. Feely wanted to leave the party early.
So what happened potentially that caused something to happen Monday at school for them to be in detention?
Now, when we were reading yesterday, we were also kind of talking with our group chat. Shout out to Grace and Rachel for helping us interpret this. We were kind of also wondering if maybe, because at first when we discovered this months ago, we thought they were fighting with each other. Who said it yesterday? They're like, maybe they're fighting Pierce.
I said, there's no way I don't know if they're fighting Pierce, but I think they're fighting somebody else for sure.
Yeah, because at
Because
first we thought maybe they had some kind of tassel,
yeah,
but it literally just says both Hughie and Feely were in detention.
and we know that Johnny is the peacemaker in the group. If he had to break up a fight, or if he knew his two teammates were fighting and that's why they were in detention, he would have stated something.
I definitely feel like he would have said that in his mind. Like, my
Yeah.
two friends that are supposed to be mature can't fucking get it together and are now in detention. Like, to
I
add
had to
on to
pull
my
them
plate.
apart earlier. Yeah, it would have
Yeah,
been
so
something.
I think this was not between Hughie and Feely themselves.
Yeah. I feel like it's got to be something else happening here. Now, what could it be? Potentially Pierce. Potentially.
Like, it always comes back to Pierce.
It always comes back to Pierce. Yeah, but this is definitely something to keep note of. I feel like is going to be important in Hughie and Lizzie's POV next time. But yeah, I got that there. Also, let's talk about.
Okay, we'll get into the order of events. So I just find it so funny how, Claire and Gibsie are both calling Johnny and Shannon out on their BS because Gibsie's like, stop staring, you look like a creeper. Yeah, so Gibsie's calling him out. He's like, you're staring at her, you're being a creep. And he's like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. And then he's like, well, I have some interesting information. So I did not even pick this up until yesterday. So basically Gibsie's like, well, she's never kissed a guy. And Johnny's like, well, how do you know that? Gibsie is calling Johnny out. He's like, you're staring at her, you're being a creep. And then Gibsie kind of gets into how he has some information that can help out Johnny. Now, I will specify this is not an okay term, but this is a term that Chloe has thrown in here. Gibsie does refer to Shannon as a frigid. Now, that is a very misogynistic and sexist term. I don't care if it's 2005 or whatever, but Gibsie does call her this, and he calls her that twice in this same breath. He's like, okay then, but she's still a frigid. That's not okay. And nobody says anything about that. I feel like if any other character would have called Shannon a frigid, that would be a problem.
Agreed, 100%. And I think if we're going to have a problem with Hughie later down calling people names or other characters calling people names, then you need to be able to call out other instances where this is just not okay. And this is one of those instances where his terminology towards Shannon here is, especially because we know she was bullied in her past school with that term, is just not okay.
I think people really forget that in this, at least in this first Binding 13 book, Gibsie is very, very much of what you would label a fuckboy. He makes very inappropriate and sexist jokes constantly. And this fandom loves Gibsie. They love to baby him, but you cannot overlook these things. A lot of people like to say that the Lizzie fans like to excuse a lot of the things that she does. You can't have the same narrative for Gibsie. You can't say he's absolutely perfect, but then ignore these things. Now, I do know a lot of this is him masking, okay?
Oh, it's 100%
It is 100% him masking, but it doesn't change the fact that he makes very, very inappropriate and sexual comments about people.
Yeah, women in particular, especially in the first book, in Binding and Keeping, right? So calling that out is important. I feel like societally it would not be okay today. For sure.
I think this, once again, we've talked about how his and Claire's relationship is so odd to me, and I think this is why. I don't think he and Claire are really hanging out at school and stuff, and so this is why he acts like the big man whore. But anyway, so he basically tells Johnny that Shannon's never touched a guy. And Johnny's like, well, how do you know this? I did not catch this in any of my prior rereads until yesterday. And I'm like texting the group chat. I'm so excited.
We're going crazy over this, you guys.
So we have a little bit to unpack here. Gibsie was listening at the door in the explosive diarrhea chapter where he came in with Brian. So before he came in with Brian freaking out, he stopped at that door and was eavesdropping. And he says, I overheard the girls talking about it in Claire's bedroom a while back. Now, this would have been a week ago. That Viper Pierce is tapping was talking about what a terrible ride he is. And it came up that Shannon had never kissed a fella. Now, before I get into this last little part, what he said, why, Olivia, would it be really interesting that Gibsie overheard Lizzie talking about losing her virginity to Pierce? Why would that be interesting?
Because Gibsie knows when Pierce and Lizzie first slept together.
Say that again. Say that one more time.
Gibsie knows when Lizzie and Pierce first slept together. You know what else I just caught on to while we're talking about this? Did he go tell Pierce what he heard? That the Viper said he was a terrible lay, and Pierce makes some offhanded comment, and Feely and Hughie jump in, then we get them in detention? Because Gibsie would for sure go tell Pierce, Lizzie said you're a terrible lay. For sure would go tell him that.
I feel like we need to update our 2005 timeline theory.
I know! The second you were reading it out loud, I was like, wait a minute. Gibsie would have for sure went and been like, hey, guess what? The Viper said you're a terrible shit.
Well, yeah, because I'm texting and I'm like, guys, wait a minute. Gibsie overheard at the door, and he would have overheard Lizzie telling everybody she lost her virginity 2 days prior.
When he knows that's not true.
When he knows that is not true. He is the one that walked into that room after Hughie.
Yeah.
So, lots to unpack there. We clearly need other POVs, but I'm thinking this is a lot of what builds to things happening in Dublin.
Yes, for sure. I agree.
Now, this next part I thought was interesting. He's frowning. He added, "The Viper really doesn't like me."
I picked this up, and once again in the group chat where you're going ham, because then I went back and reread the Explosive Diarrhea chapter, and I know where in there is Lizzie going hardcore at Gibsie, right? They're kind of back and forth, but I feel like it has been a big narrative that Lizzie has been Gibsie's biggest bully for years. I disagree, you disagree, and you can all disagree and whine and complain all you want.
We've been unpacking it in this book.
The fact of the matter is, I think Gibsie has been hurt by Lizzie for years because of her pushing him away, and we get that, an actual representation canonically here, where he's sad. He overheard the girls having a good time laughing. How long has it been since he was in that group? A group that he used to be a part of, you know? And now he's been iced out by Lizzie, and he frowns and does not have to mention it here, but does. The Viper really doesn't like me. Frowning and sad. He is hurt. He's not hurt by what she says to him. He is hurt that she has pushed him out.
And we know this for a fact because Hughie tells Lizzie in R10 that Gibsie basically spent the whole summer crying.
Yeah. Yeah. So it is not that he's bothered by her words. It is more her actions. And
that they're not friends anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so the Viper really doesn't like me. That really stuck out at me.
When he doesn't have to mention that, it adds no benefit to him listening in at the door other than him being hurt by probably not being included in that group and being iced out. So yeah, I think that's another thing here. And then this all kind of just starts to spiral. This whole scene.
Well, so this is actually the end of chapter 13 because chapter 13 and 14 are basically like a combo. You just get the different perspectives. So like I said, Gibsie is calling Johnny out. I see you staring at her. That's when he's like, well, I know some information I overheard. And Gibsie basically gets up and he's like, okay, well, if you're not going to do this, I'm going to go do it for you.
Yeah.
And then that is where we end this chapter, and Johnny says my feet were moving before my common sense had a chance to talk me off the ledge I was about to step into.
Yeah.
And then we go to chapter 14, provisional licenses, and we are in Shannon's POV, and this is just like seconds right after we left off.
And this is a clusterfuck of what happens in this chapter. Boy, does it go down.
Can I really quick, I want to make a side note about, because obviously this one's called provisional licenses. I want to talk about the licensing system in Ireland. Okay, I find it really interesting. What is it called? Do they call it a DESI license or whatever, where they can have somebody a certain age as like their mentor? I'm sorry. Could you imagine being 16, ready to go get your license, and you pick your best friend to put on the paper with you? Because that's what Gibsie says. He has Johnny on his paper. We don't do that in the United States.
No, we don't. Well,
could you imagine your very best friend being responsible for you on the road? That is weird to me.
it's terrifying.
But like they talk about this because remember Joey is like Aoife's person. And then Gibsie and Johnny said that Johnny had to like roll out of bed, take him, sign the papers, and I'm like, this is weird. Like that's a liability.
Joey doesn't even have a car.
But anyway, the whole setup for this chapter is Claire's really excited because Gibsie is now on the road.
Yes.
And Gibsie wants to take people on the road with him.
He certainly does. Chapter 14, we get Shannon's POV. She's noticing Johnny staring at her. That's so funny. And she's like, I don't know why he stared at me. I don't know what's going on here. Once again, just shows how unsure she is. She's never been in this situation before. She really has no idea what's going on.
Okay, and before we get into that, so like I said, Gibsie saunters over to the table. This is the first page of this chapter. This is why I want to go back to nobody talks about how inappropriate Gibsie is in these books, because he's like, I have something to show you, and Claire instantly is like, I'm not looking at your penis. Stop trying to show it to me.
Yeah.
But yet people get upset when Hughie says, stop being inappropriate with my little sister.
Well, here we go. Gibsie comes over, and Claire's reaction is to groan. What do you want?
Yeah, what do you want, Jared?
Yeah. Like, once again, interesting behavior between these two here. And then she's excited because he gets his keys. And we have Lizzie-Gibsie interaction here. Now, I want to read this, because, once again, my Lizzie-Gibsie have their own little tab here. They have their own little color. A maniac has been set loose on the Irish roads, Lizzie interjected. Notice there's no tone here. It doesn't say she snaps at him, she snipes. It just says she's interjected, right? Jesus, Gibsie muttered, frowning across the table at Lizzie. You're a barrel of laughs. Where in that line is her... I feel like this is a normal, like, you're in a friend group and this is shit you say. Like,
you know how many friends I have that are so sarcastic, they just sound like a fucking asshole when they talk?
Yes. And even that line is like, an Irish maniac has been let loose. If Claire had said that line, no one would bat a fucking eye.
No.
And I want to mention that Chloe does not add a negative tone or connotation after what
No,
Lizzie
it was
said.
just Lizzie interjected.
Lizzie then merely, and it's the word merely is here, merely just gives him the finger and returns to her lunch. Oh, fascinating. Okay, so a perfect opportunity to continue to have a go at him, and she chooses not to. Okay. Shaking his head, Gibsie returned his attention back to Claire. There's more. They've gone to, I don't know what the fuck this place is called. Tenerife? Anyway, the whole point is his mom is gone. He's got the house basically to himself. These parents are something else. Jesus Christ. She's like, have free reign. I'm out of town for the whole weekend. Bye.
And they're shocked at revelations that come out about their kids later on.
What do you mean you had a... What do you mean you... What do you mean? Really? Okay. So then you get back and forth here with Claire and Gibsie, and once again you have Gibsie here saying he wants Claire to stay over at his house, and she's like, why would I do that? Does it come with good reviews? What? Just his... I would not be okay with my friend talking to...
Okay, I'm going to interject here because I know this episode is just not going to be one, like, we're gonna, the Claire fans. I am not, guys, I am looking at this from a 33-year-old perspective, okay? And to me, Gibsie's pressuring her to come over and spend the night, and she keeps saying no, and he won't back down, and it's this point where our Viper snaps. It's not until this point of Claire continuously saying, no.
She's literally saying no. She's literally saying she don't want to come over. Gibsie is being a fuckboy here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Lizzie then snaps. Can you stop doing that? Lizzie barked, then glaring at Gibsie. Doing what? Screwing around with her feelings. It's not a game. She doesn't even come after Gibsie for being inappropriate. It is, she feels that he is toying with Claire's. This is a good friend. I would snap like this. Especially when Gibsie wears a mask. We know Gibsie wears a mask. He puts on this persona of being a fuckboy. That is what he gives out. That is what Lizzie knows. And then Lizzie sees him talking this way to her best friend. She wants to
and also I want to point out that is what Claire knows too. Claire said in several chapters back, she told Shannon he will ride anything in a skirt. So this is what Claire thinks too.
So she's really just like, stop playing with my friend's emotions. Like, you've been doing this for years, and yet you're going around fucking anything. That's not okay, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I'm not screwing around with her feelings. She knows I love her. Yeah, asshole, you love her loads, don't you? That's why you're going around shagging half the school, right? This is valid. Lizzie is being
This is a
valid.
friend protecting her friend. We have to remember these are teenagers, okay? And Claire is a virgin.
Yeah.
So I don't understand this outcry when Lizzie literally just tries to protect her friends. In fact, a page or two down the line after Lizzie storms off, Shannon and Claire even say to the boys, she only likes us. She's extremely protective of us.
Yes. And you guys have terrible reputations. You guys have really bad reputations of fucking girls and walking away. Like, so...
Valid.
Valid. And we also do not know what Pierce is whispering in Lizzie's ear.
Correct.
On Gibbsie's behavior or Johnny's behavior.
Correct.
He wants to isolate Lizzie from this group to get her further away from Hughie. He sees Shannon come in and he sees Lizzie starting to integrate back into the group. Is he whispering stuff in her ear?
Yeah, because my last reread, I actually wrote on there, I'm like, I don't know if this interaction is about Hughie or Mark, and now I'm thinking it's Pierce.
Yeah, I agree. Because she really goes off on the rugby guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
Also very interesting because we also know Feely and Hughie are not here. They're in detention.
Oh, Pierce isn't here either.
No.
Yeah, I'm going back. I think detention had to do with the three of them.
I agree. And I think it's Gibsie went and told. And so she's angry. Gibsie overheard. Gibsie went and told Pierce this. Pierce ran his mouth. Everyone, like, it is... that is
coming together.
Yeah,
it's all coming together. And as always, if we are wrong, we are wrong. But this is just kind of what we're theorizing.
Seriously. So I feel like there's more to this underneath it. But at the end of the day, this is not Lizzie bullying Gibsie. This is Lizzie being very protective of her friends. Especially because she feels like she's probably gone through this, right? We know she does not like the rugby team. The rugby team whispers about her behind her back. And so she's taking this really personally, and she's trying to make sure that her friends don't end up like her.
Yeah, because, I mean, I can kind of see she's getting a little manic here with as more heated because Johnny's very calm. He's like, well, what did I do? And that's when she's like, you know what you're doing. So this clearly has other underlining...
Even Gibsie is not like, you're being a fucking bitch, stop it, like, calm down. Like, no, Gibsie's like, do you just hate us, or is it the entire rugby team? And she's like, all of you rugby heads.
Yeah, and then when she was gone, he goes, whoa, that girl seriously hates me. Yeah, and then that's when Claire does interject. She's like, she hates everyone. Don't take it personal. It's true. I decided to offer up. She only likes two people. Exactly, Claire agreed. It's truly nothing personal. Lizzie's just protective of us.
But see, once again, fascinating because we get later POV of Claire saying that Lizzie's been a bully for years and years. When someone asks how long has she been bullied towards Gibsie, she says years and years and years. But that contradicts what she just says here.
Which is why I just really think that the emotions that are going on in later books just overpower everybody's emotions and their critical thinking. That even the characters in the books are like, well, no, that actually didn't happen.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we have to look at how Claire is at the winter ball, and she just kept shaking her head at Lizzie going, no, 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 you're wrong. You're so wrong. You're so, so wrong. So.
That is why getting different POVs is very important, you guys.
Mm-hmm.
But we can't invalidate every POV, just because we have different POVs. You have to look at it that this is genuinely what this person believes, and other people may not believe that.
Plus, we also have to look at the fact that clearly Claire and Gibsie are not that close here.
Yeah.
Whereas they will be later on down the line.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So that's the big blow up here. in this chapter, which is fascinating.
It's a lot.
It is a lot.
It's a lot, and I really think it's unfortunately these little small moments here where certain sides of the fandom just will never give Lizzie any kind of grace, but this is why this is a deep dive. You have to look at all of this context within, and why would she be snapping like this?
Yeah.
You know, and then we have to look at events that happened just days before, and we've read an entire book in Lizzie's POV now, and we know that she acts that way after certain things have caused her to act that way.
Yeah. So definitely think this is going to be an important few days in the next books.
All right, so this next part is a little bit of a big one. 15, 16, and 17 kind of is a big journey.
All together, yeah.
But this is where Shannon and Johnny really, really start to get close. This is where Shannon gets cornered after school in the hallways by Ronan. And I always liked this scene because it was Gibsie that like came and saved her.
Me too.
And you really, really get an insight here of how
I think this goes back to Gibsie being like the core matchmaker.
Yes.
You know? And really the core defender of the core 10, you know?
Yeah.
But once again, let's look at Gibsie's language here. What does he then shout out loud for the entire school to hear? He puts on that fuckboy persona and shouts out for the entire school to hear that he's gonna go fuck his mom and all over her. Like, he puts on that persona. So of course that is what Lizzie believes, because she is no longer close enough to know that he is masking, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so if she also has Pierce in her ear whispering, or remember Mark? Remember him? The Mark of it all? This is what Gibsie is portraying to everybody, right? Even though he's saying it to goad Ronan, you know, it is still him shouting out loud.
Let's talk a little bit about Ronan though before Gibsie interjects. This guy, there's only one me.
I would have gagged if a guy, like, I would have laughed in his face and gagged. Like, the lines he's using are so cheesy. And you gotta remember, he's 15 too.
I know! I'm like, this is a ballsy freshman. And clearly Shannon is trying to get away from him, and he's doing this whole, like, well, I should be at practice right now.
Oh my god. Or if he's like, we can go into the bathroom and discuss it. What? I just want to get to know you better. In the bathroom? You're not even properly asking me out. You're wanting to go hook up in the bathroom? Why would you think that would ever work?
If I knew my son acted like this towards girls, I would skin him alive.
Like, why would you think that would ever work?
Well, and then just sitting there acting like you're God's greatest gift to man, like, well, I could be at practice, but there's only, you know, he's like, there's only one of me. There will be another like, she's like, I'm gonna miss my school bus. There will be other buses. There's only one me. Great.
Disgusting.
Fabulous.
I really would have gagged. I would have like, thank God there's only one you, because disgusting. You need to go watch a video on how to pick up women or some shit, because it's embarrassing. I do think, though, that there's this very important line here that Shannon states. He goes, "You're a shy little thing, aren't you?" And she goes, "No, I wasn't shy. I could be as outspoken and verbose as anyone when I was with people I trusted." Remember our first introduction to Johnny and Shannon, how she immediately stood up for herself?
Yeah, we talked about that. And she staggers over to, "Is this your ball?"
She immediately felt comfortable enough to do that with him.
You ruined my tights. Like, yep.
And we also, in a later chapter, get even more confirmation here. That's why I underlined it. I think it's a very important line. She is only outspoken and speaks her truth when she's comfortable with those who are around her. Clearly, she's not comfortable with this guy who's trying to hook up with her in a fucking school bathroom. Good God. And she's being polite. She's like, "No, I'm sorry, I don't give my number out to strangers." And he's like, "I'm not a stranger." Ah!
I remember guys talking to me like this in the hallway, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I've never seen you before.
No, me too. I'm pretty sure you don't know my name. sure you couldn't tell me my own name. Like,
Right?
and he's like, I'm hardly a stranger. You are to me. Like, this is literally the first time you've ever spoken to her. Why would you think this is so stupid? This guy is so dumb. Anyway, Gibsie comes in to save the day. I love this. He goes, I should probably let me rephrase that. You're a blank 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 little fucker, aren't you? Don't want to get demonetized here.
Right?
And that word will definitely demonetize us. And he cups the back of him and he forces him to walk. Just Gibsie! I love it. Just the visual of Gibbs, like,
You know what? I'm calling it now, just because we like to put our theories out here. Ronan's in Shannon's year, but this guy's going to be a problem in our next release.
Probably.
Because we know all the guys like Lizzie.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he'll go, okay, well, I tried it with Shannon. I'll go back to that girl now.
And it's probably because Pierce is running his mouth saying that she's easy, right? So, of course, Lizzie has negative association with the rugby guys, probably all trying to get with her, right?
Yeah, calling it now, guys. Ronan will be a problem in our next book.
Anyway, she sees that it's Gibsie. Claire's crush, the catwalker. The strange one. Shannon is iconic.
Truly.
Truly iconic.
You know, I really, in her POV, you really see a lot of Joey.
Yes.
The way that they perceive things, you know?
Ronan starts screeching and freaking out because he knows he's in trouble. And I'm always like, at this scene, I'm like, you were just talking a big game. And in the locker room, you were talking a big game. But now all of a sudden, you've crossed the line.
Mm-hmm.
And Gibsie's warning him. He's like, he's going to kill you. You know you're in trouble, man. I love that
He heard Gibsie, who was grinning like a Cheshire cat.
Yes. And I love that Ronan goes, I need my inhaler. And Gibsie's like, you don't have an inhaler.
Should have thought of that before.
You don't have asthma. Stop.
Whereas if Shannon used this excuse to get away from him, oh, you'll always have an asthma attack. There's only one me.
Maybe I know I take your breath away. You can borrow some of my air.
And out there, hundreds of podcast bros have used that line.
Oh, for sure. Having an asthma attack and they're like, man, honey, I know you're really into me and I take your breath away.
Listen, girlies, because I know we have a lot of high schoolers that follow us and are in our coven. If a guy says that to you, run.
Run.
That is not cute. That is not charming. That is, oh my god. No. That is gag-worthy. That is cringe-worthy. No.
Yeah. Anyway, Johnny eventually comes out, by the way, and Shannon's immediate reaction when Johnny comes out, she's like, "Oh, I know that voice. Oh, I know that body. Oh, that body." Like, she is immediately flustered and like all about Johnny Kavanagh here. And checking him out in his little rugby kit. Is that what they call it? Kit?
Yeah, kit is a jersey.
Okay. I imagined a kilt, so thank you.
No. I had to look this up too because I like Zodiac Academy, and those authors are British, but Zodiac Academy is American, and so I remember I was reading the series and they would talk about putting on their kits. I'm like, what the hell is a kit? Like they have a kit, like a maintenance kit in their bag or something. Yeah, so a kit is a jersey.
Yeah. Okay, good to know. Anyway, she's checking him out hardcore. And then she mentally notes he's walking with the same slight limp she had observed on countless of occasions. Mm-hmm. So, and we also notice here that Gibsie's tall, but Johnny's taller. Is Johnny the tallest out of all the boys?
He's 6'3".
I think
we'll keep track of this because I know this is another rebranding thing.
So anyway, Johnny comes in. Gibsie whispers in his ear, kind of letting him know what happened, and Johnny absolutely loses his shit as he should. Go, Johnny. But I love Shannon here because this would have been me in school. Were they really going to fight over me? Was this really over me? It couldn't be. They didn't even know me. No way. But then that triggers her anxiety. Right? So then she immediately goes into the bathroom because she is freaking out.
I
understand.
do want to do a little side pause because I highlighted this like the first time I ever read this book. I just love this little quote from Shannon. I hated humans. They were such a disappointment. And to think God switched dinosaurs for man. He must be raging. Preach.
Once again, the icon, the legend Shannon, like she's so unintentionally funny.
Yes.
And I don't think the fandom notices enough that she is funny.
Yeah.
I don't have any other notes.
Well, I do, because this is when, before she meets Johnny in the hallway, she's panicking. Her anxiety is so high right now because of so many things. First of all, because of what just happened. She's running late. She cannot be home late because of her father. It's noted she tries calling Joey like 20 times. So this will kind of set up for our next scene.
I also want to note the time, 5:47. Okay? She looks at the clock, it's 5:47. She tries to call her brother, he doesn't pick up, and then that is when she walks out of the bathroom and runs into a hard chest of muscle. And then we move into chapter 16.
Now, chapter 16 is one of my favorite tandem parts. I love reading this chapter on both sides because this is the Joey Johnny phone call. And I just want to say that it was this scene right here that inspired me to do the tandem, because I was like, well, I want to see these at the same time. I want to read these chapters at the same time.
17 is the phone call.
16 is so short. That's why. I'm
Yeah.
like,
I was
16
like,
and 17, they blend so far together.
16 are so short.
17 was so long, but it's because 16 and 7 we're still in the same location.
Yeah. This, though, but you noticed this, chapter 16, one of the very first sentences, it's actually the second sentence here, you noticed and told our group chat here. So I think it's important.
Okay, so this, Chloe does this a lot in these books, is, we kind of rewind just about 5 minutes. Now we're going to see this whole frame again, but we're going to see it in Johnny's perspective. So Johnny mentions that he kind of had to walk out of practice because there was something that happened on the pitch with a bunch of the guys, and he took a boot to the crotch. Now, here is where I found it interesting, because it says, resisting the natural reaction to maim and kill the culprit, who just so happened to be a sheepish-looking Hughie.
What's the definition of sheepish?
Let me just pull that up for you. An expression of embarrassment, often from doing something foolish or wrong. It's characterized by a sense of shame or shyness and can be accompanied by a shy smile or bashful demeanor. It can also mean a lack of confidence or behavior. Someone with a sheepish look might want to hide or avoid taking responsibility for their actions.
Now, does that sound like Hughie Biggs? Does that sound like the Hughie Biggs we know? We have theories on this. Was Hughie aiming for someone else?
So you talked about that. I had mentioned, because this is Tuesday. This is the day after the detention. This is just like 4 days after this whole weekend Schoolboy shield. I think Hughie's distracted. I think he is really, really distracted, just because, like we said before, Chloe could easily put throwaway lines in here, but we know how this series is, and with everybody's POVs, I just don't think she does that. And just, it's interesting that she put the culprit was a sheepish-looking Hughie. It could have been anybody.
Yeah. We don't know. Could he have been aiming for someone else, especially since we know he was in detention the day before? Was Pierce in that rubble? In that little pile? Are they still all having a go at each other here? We don't know. But once again, you're correct. Chloe is very intentional with her words and her lines, and I feel like this is going to be something we see again in the future.
Mm-hmm. Basically, like I said, this is basically chapter 15 all over again, but you are seeing it from Johnny's perspective. So he had come inside, he was getting an ice pack, and when he's walking out of the kitchen with the ice pack, that's when he sees Gibsie, and he's like, what did the little bollocks do now?
I do think it's important to note here, and this is why I think Gibsie doesn't get enough credit for also being very aware of things.
We talked about this in our last episode too, is we think Gibsie's very perspective as well.
Yeah, he does notice things, and he does notice here. Like, Johnny is starting to rage, and he's like, I'm gonna kill that guy. And Gibsie stops him, says, "Don't. She's right there, lad." He sees that Shannon is terrified. And Johnny knows. He turns around and Shannon looks terrified. So right away, Gibsie is like, "Hey, do not explode in front of Shannon. Like, don't do it." So I feel like this is key for Gibsie to pick up on.
Yeah.
And able to protect, once again, the friend group. He is a big protector, even though, and we can complain about how he talks about women, he is one of the biggest defenders of all of the women in the group.
For sure. Hands down. I think he is everybody's. I said this before. We talked about him being a big wingman. I just think he's everybody's cheerleader.
Yeah.
Everybody's biggest support system, you know?
Yeah. So we get the entire scene again just from Johnny's POV. And then here we get Hughie, right? Again, Hughie comes in because he takes Ronan into the team room, which it's very interesting, the layout of the school, but okay. "Oh, for Christ's sake," Hughie groaned, watching us enter with the resigned look on his face. He's kind of just like, "Here we go. Yeah, it's going down." What did he do now? He broke the rules. Gibsie snickered. "Boys going to church, and we were doing so well," Feely sighed. I really do love when we get these moments of all of the guys and the lads interacting with one another.
Yeah, because it really shows their different personalities. And it shows, I'm sorry, once again, Hughie was not rebranded. He's been shown in these first 20 chapters that he's the mature, level-headed one. Like, oh, what's going on now? He was the one to defuse the fight in the previous part. So then you get into chapter 17, because like I said, 16 and 15 are basically the same chapter. You just get the different perspective. Yeah. So he decides, I do find it interesting though, in 16 he was gonna like just go home and leave. He makes it all the way out to the parking lot and he's like, wait a minute, no. And then we get to 17, and like I said, 17 is a long one. I told Olivia I had to read it twice just because I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything, because this is really where they start to share things about their lives.
Not only that, but this is our first real long-term interaction we get between the two.
And well, like I said, just this first, they share so much of each other.
Yeah. So he goes in to check that Shannon's okay. And she's like, "I think so." And she's like, "Were you out here waiting for me?" And he's like, "Yeah. I just want to make sure that, you're okay."
Okay, and then Joey calls right away. Because like I said, Shannon had left him like 20 missed calls, texts, like, call me. And King Joey instantly, he's like, "What's going on? What's wrong? What is happening?" And she's like, "I missed my bus and I need a ride, but Joey is stuck at work. Aoife works on Tuesdays, so she cannot even get him." And then Joey says, "I can have one of the lads come and get you." Shannon said that would make her feel uncomfortable even though she knows them.
Yes.
And then Johnny is just like, "I'll take you home." And I love this scene. It's honestly one of my favorite scenes in the entire series because it's happy. It's funny.
It's cute. It's like rom-com.
It's charming because right away, and this is why I said I love reading this chapter on the other side too, because Joey's like, "Who are you talking to? Is that a man?"
And she goes, "Just this guy from school." And Johnny is like, and then she like blushes, and then he like grins. Like, it's just so rom-commy, this entire
and my favorite part is the other side of the phone call, because then you have Tony going, "She's a baby. That's a man."
And she's like, "It's just a guy I know. And honestly, it's fine. You don't have to drive me home." And Joey, if you have a big brother, this reminds me so much of my big brother. This is a reaction my brother would have had. "Wait a minute. Who's driving you home?" "Oh, hell no."
I know, and then she's like, "You're 15. I know what age I am, Joey."
And then the lad who's just a guy
with a car.
Because I want to talk to him. I want to talk to the fucker offering to take my baby sister home in his car. That's why. And I love that Johnny is just calm. He's like, "Go ahead, give me the phone." And she's like,
I know, and Shannon's like, no.
And
she's trying to jump and take it back.
To get it, and I'm like imagining him like
I know. So then on this side of the phone call, we have Johnny saying who he is and then offering tickets. Now, the funny part is when we actually get Joey's side of the phone call, it's actually Tony that wants the tickets.
this back and you're like, this doesn't sound like Joey. Like Joey would be asking Johnny for tickets. It's not.
No, but then you get the other side of it, and Tony's like, we'll get into that when we get to that. But this is why I love this whole scene, because there's so many emotions. You have Shannon freaking the hell out. Johnny just calm, cool, and collected, answering questions. You have Joey freaking the hell out. And then you have Tony going, she's a baby. Oh, wait, but ask for some game tickets.
I know. And then I love Johnny's line of, okay, after he gets off the phone with Joey, he's like, Big Brother gave me permission to take you home. So cute. So cute. And he immediately grabs her back for her. What a gentleman.
Yep.
Gentleman.
Now, one thing I did want to make out that was funny is when they walk out to his car is trashed. And I don't know about you, but all of my guy friends, their cars were pretty clean. It was the girlies. Our cars were not good.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. If I wasn't getting into my friend's car who was a girl, it was usually destroyed. Clothes everywhere, makeup, trash.
I drove an 85 pickup truck. It was my grandpa's, so I had like a little bench seat in the back of it. That bench seat was full of crap.
I drove a 1998 Dodge Stratus. That was my very first car ever, and boy, did I run that thing into the ground, and it was trashed constantly.
See, that's why when I read this, because I remember there even being memes about it. It was, well, girls' bedrooms are more clean, and guys' bedrooms are more messy, but when it comes to the car, it's completely flipped. And then Johnny just describing moving water bottles and clothes and trash, and I'm like, I don't know if I've ever been in a guy's car that was messy like that. They usually pride themselves in their cars.
On having a nice clean car, especially because he has a nice car. Johnny has a nice
actually
car.
too, and I want to point that out, I feel like this is really the only thing where you see Johnny being messy.
Yeah. Can I also talk about I love this. She sticks close to Johnny, right? She's walking next to him, and she's like, concussion giver or not, some part of my brain told me that I was safe with this boy. That was probably the concussed part.
Okay, so Johnny has a messy car.
Johnny does not clean his car. Cool. I mean, he doesn't have parents around and tell him to keep it clean.
Which
so
we will get into.
Yes.
I have opinions on that.
I have opinions on it too. Anyway, we get Johnny asking if Shannon's okay, if Ronan hurt her, and she's like, no. And then I love her mentioning she knows the make of the car. That's an Audi. Audi. And then mentioning because her brother works at the place. But then she talks, the stench when she starts describing the smell in the car.
No. The smell of teenage boys.
Yes! And saying it smelled like her brother's room.
Okay, Shannon, this right here. It was similar to the stench that wafted from Joey's bedroom, a distinctive odor comprised of a combination of sweat, sex, and man.
Okay, I had an older brother. I was not sniffing his room.
That's problematic in itself. But also, I want to take a side note here because we do want to keep tally marks. It baffles me that Joey and Aoife are, how did we get pregnant? Well, Joey's room is wafting of the smell of sex. So
how did no one be like, damn, your room stank?
I have a teenage boy, and his room does not smell like that, so...
My brother's 4 years older than me. His room did not stink like that, you guys. Like, that's what's crazy. I wasn't going in the room going, smells like sex.
Yeah, I thought that was a really interesting description.
Okay, interesting. I ignored the stench of boy. Dead. Okay.
So here is where they really start talking, and they actually just sit in the parking lot for a while, and they really, really open up to each other. And I had teased this before in our last episode. This is really part of what is so appealing about Shannon to Johnny, is that she really doesn't know anything about rugby and who he is.
Yeah.
And it takes him back. Like, she knows nothing about his stats, his games, anything like that. So when she's asking questions, he's like, well, what do you mean you don't know? She talks about how she knows a lot more about hurling because of her family and her brothers.
First parallel here, and it comes up again in the later chapter, of Johnny, the rugby player, and Joey, the hurler.
Yes.
Because she knows a lot about hurling and her brother is the rising star, all of that, right? Everything that Johnny is, but she doesn't know that Johnny, even more so. Johnny's even more so, So she's singing Joey's praises and whatnot, and he's like, "Yeah, I kind of know. I kind of know what you're talking about here,
I also found just Shannon's description of Joey very interesting. Because like I said, we got a very small window of Joey in that first episode. Very, very small. But this is really where you get to describe him. And she says that he's a sociable guy. He finds it hard to say no to his friends. Joey has the talent and skill to play at any level. It's keeping his head that's his biggest problem, and distractions are everywhere. Everyone wants a piece of you when you're in the public eye, and Joey has a hard time keeping his feet on the ground. I guess it's hard to keep your feet on the ground when you're a teenager playing in a man's world and reaping the rewards for it. You know how it is with parties, girls, special treatment, and all that. And that's a little bit of a comparison of the two.
100%. And this comparison comes back later, but this is the first. She's describing Johnny here without knowing she's describing Johnny and the world that Johnny has grown up in,
Yeah, because he says, yeah, Johnny replied, rubbing his jaw almost absent-mindedly. He had a strange expression etched on his face as he looked at me, one I couldn't quite depict. I do know. And then she goes to say it was the same for her brother Darren, but Darren gave it up. And then she talks about how she's got so many other brothers, and Johnny is just taken back by that. And then she says, do you have any siblings? And he says, no, it's really quiet at my house. But then he right away goes back, well, I want to hear more about you. Keep going.
He deflects. Immediately, he does not want to talk about himself.
He doesn't want to talk about himself, and he just like, yes.
And which I also kind of love, because the banter back and forth here, the little interaction is cute, where he's like, are you a big player? And she's like, do you see how tiny I am? I can't play rugby. And he's making a joke, but she's like, I could never play rugby. He's like, yeah, I know. I was just like joking with you, girl. Just trying to find out like what are her hobbies and things she likes. And then he was firing off questions quicker than I could respond. I attempted to answer him the best I could. No, I don't follow any team aside from the international squad, and I've never been to any other games. I play, he finally said. I'm sorry, but him kind of just be like, I play. I know ball. I know a little bit of ball, And she's like, yeah, for Tommen. Yeah, I've seen you out there. And he's like, no, I play.
I play. I don't play. I play.
She's like,
good for you. And this, guys, this is what I'm saying, is this is what a big, like, fascination is for him. Like, whoa.
Yeah.
Because all of these girls throw themselves at him because of the rugby thing. Now, it also helps that he looks the way he does. Yeah. But the rugby thing is a big part of it.
And he straight says, you honestly don't know. And she's like, nope, I honestly don't. He's like, I like that. You like what? That you don't know what I'm talking about. It's a little insulting, but a lot refreshing. He admits that it dents his ego a little bit, that she doesn't know. But that it's more important to him that she doesn't know, So I just love I read these scenes back, and I truly believe Shannon and Johnny are the most cohesive couple in the series.
Yeah, I agree.
They really are. The most wholesome. They are the most wholesome couple in the entire series.
I agree. Well, also, I mean, I can't say anything about Hughie Feely because we don't really know the facts yet, but I mean, from what we do know, I think it's pretty obvious. Johnny and Shannon are the only couple that as soon as they meet, it's it for them.
Yeah, there's no one else.
I mean, Claire and Gibsie have had to play this whole game for almost 2 decades. Hughie, Lizzie, same thing. Hughie Feely, they've got their own crap going. Joey and Aoife. Joey was with a lot of people. Aoife had a boyfriend. Yeah. Johnny and Shannon are really the only two that met each other, and nothing existed outside of them.
Yeah.
There were no games.
That's it. there's other outside world stuff happening that they have to deal with together.
Yes.
But them together is them
Because
together.
trust me, I love Joey and Aoife. I love all of them. But the fact of the matter is with the other couples, it is very high school. It is very games. It's this drama. Johnny and Shannon, it's not.
They're not that way. No. So I find them the most refreshing and wholesome couple that we read about in the entire series.
Yeah. So then he does go into talk a little bit about himself. He talks about, his move. They talk about his accent in a little bit. He says that they moved because of his grandpa being sick, but he's very honest with her. He's like, it was a pain in the hole. I didn't want to come to a new school halfway through the year, changing clubs and everything. And then he mentions, I can never pronounce the name of the boys' school that he went to with the other guys, but he talks about how he met them. And then Shannon goes, same as Hughie Biggs.
Yeah, I do want to note here though as well, he starts to get a little defensive when she mentions him being posh. And I think this goes back to him feeling he doesn't want his hard work and talent to be taken away from him or dumbed down to him just having money. Right? And I feel like, so you see when that is kind of mentioned here, he does start to pick up a little defense where he's like, I'm not posh. And she's like, oh, and then she starts criticizing her skills of her conversational skills, like, oh, my attempt at impersonating him was an epic fail. What an idiot. In her internal monologue, she's constantly criticizing herself in this conversation, that she does not feel she's doing a good enough job, right?
I did think it was funny that he asked her if she was a dancer because she looks like a ballerina.
What does he say? The tutu type, right?
Yes, one of those tutu dancers. Claire Biggs isn't even a ballerina in the future. She was, like, back in the day. Because remember, she wanted to take Lizzie to dance class.
That's right. Lizzie was like, no, I don't want to do that.
I'm thinking she probably tried to take Shannon too, but Shannon wasn't allowed to go anywhere.
Yeah. So. She tried to recruit have a whole.
That's probably how Gibsie ended up dancing with her, because none of the other girls would. So yeah, like I said, then they really start talking about themselves, and he gets a little defensive with the posh thing, but it's dropped. When he gets defensive and things really start to take a turn is when she points out his injury. Because he opens up with her. It's mentioned chapters before that the only person that really knows the extent of what's going on is Gibsie. And he really starts to open up and lay the facts down to her, and then he instantly regrets it.
I want to jump back here for a little bit, because I think this is important to note. Because in one of the earlier chapters, I noted it, that Johnny, when Marie has a go at Johnny in the earlier chapters, and he's like frustrated at it, he makes a mention that he hopes Shannon stands up for him to her mom. It's mentioned again here. He brings it up. He says, is your mother still raging with me? And she goes, my mom? Because she doesn't know the extent of what happened, right? And he's like, yeah, she looked like she was 2 seconds away from ripping my head off. And she's like, my mother just got a fright. This is important to note for literally 2 chapters, in 2 more chapters. But I think we already have an interesting, we have Johnny saying he wants Shannon to stick up for him with her mom. Here he's kind of asking, like, hey, is your mom still mad at me, right? This is going to come back into play later.
Yep. So like I said, they just kind of really are giving each other a lot of details, and the conversation is very positive. Like I said, really he only is a little upset about the posh thing. It isn't until she starts to notice the ice pack, and she says, well, you've been touching yourself the whole time. And he's like, what?
And he's like, Jesus, don't say that. Please stop talking.
And then
not touching yourself, but like touching yourself. He's like,
he points out to him that she has noticed him limping. He gets really defensive about that.
Yep.
And then he tells her straight up. He describes the injury, what happened, how he decided to get the surgery, and how he's still not feeling better. But like I said, he regrets this, because we talked a lot in our first deep dive. I think Johnny and Shannon both experience anxiety. You just see it in different ways. And I feel like Johnny is like, oh my God. Because if people know.
Well, here's what's interesting, right? Is he's opening up to her. He's telling her about the injury. It is not until she says she wants to take a look at it that I think it really clocked to him what he just did.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah. Oh, now I have to tell her where it's at? This is embarrassing?
Mm-hmm.
right? I think that's when it really kicks into gear of what he's done and what he's opened up to her with, right? And then
Yeah.
he gets very, very defensive, right? Because she's like, oh, God.
Because she says it's okay, and he's like, no, it's not okay. It's not fucking okay at all. And she's like, it is. Don't be mad over it. I'm not mad. I'm just, ugh.
Once she finds see, I think he gets embarrassed over where the injury is because he's a teenage boy. It's an embarrassing thing for him. And then he goes, and by the way, his eyes narrowed. It's my groin I had surgery on, not my cock. So I'd appreciate you having the facts right before you go running your mouth about it, you know? And she's like, what?
Yeah, like I said, this is just such a 180 in their conversation because they're opening up to each other, they're really getting to know each other, and he is just right. Just have your facts straight before you go gossiping to every other girl in school.
Yeah. But I really think it's the embarrassment here that led this up. Because he was actually opening up fine. It's when she asked specifically to see it, and he had to tell her he couldn't show her because where it was at, that he was like, oh my God, she's going to go tell everyone it's my dick.
Well, I think it's a combination of that, and also he doesn't want people to know he's still hurting because then they'll pull him. You know? We know that this is what he wants. Because at the end of this book, when he has his surgery, he's crying. Remember, we'll talk about that when we get there, but he kicks her out of the room because he thinks it's over for him. So that's a big part of this.
He's like, she's like just shocked. She's like, what do you mean gossiping? Like, what do you mean I'm not, like, what? Like, she's so stunned. And we get this previous that when she feels the flight or flight response, she doesn't have any of those. She freezes. And she kind of does that here where she freezes up. And she's just kind of like, what? She's not understanding why there's a sudden change in his behavior, right?
Yeah, and then right away, he's just like, where am I taking you? I need your address. Like, he's basically, the conversation's done, I'm gonna start driving now. And then he's like speeding, and she's like, can you slow down? You are going way too fast.
I'm sorry, have you ever been in a car with the guy who's mad who then does this shit?
Yes.
It is terrifying.
It is very
terrifying.
Yes.
So this is I've been in a situation, you've been in a situation where a guy gets mad and you're in a car with him and he decides to start flooring it and you're like, you are putting me in danger, you're putting yourself in danger. Like this, it's almost an intimidation thing, honestly. It's not safe. So unfortunately, as women, I've been in this situation plenty of time and you have as well. But,
yeah, because I mean, because he even says we're going the speed limit. I'm a good driver. You're safe with me. Okay, but I'd feel better if you slowed down. Exhaling heavily, he slowed. Happy now?
Yeah. I also do want to note, we noted that at school, when Joey called, it was 5:45. When they look at the clock in the car before all of this blows up, it's 8:25.
So they have been talking for that long.
Yeah.
And then that's when he says, I would appreciate your discretion. And then that's when he says, I know how most girls are like. And this is when she just kind of gets mad. And she says, if I could jump out of the car right now, I would.
Hilarious. Okay, once again, unintentionally hilarious. If I could jump out of the car right now, I would. But he was a fast driver, and I didn't fancy my chances of surviving the post-jump impact. Like, thank you for being a little beacon of light of comedy here.
Once again, this takes us back to what you said, Olivia, about how Shannon will say what the truth when she's comfortable around people. And when he parks the car, she says, fine. What I was thinking is I think you're paranoid about people finding out you're injured because you know you shouldn't be playing.
She immediately stands up for herself and calls Johnny on his shit here and his behavior.
Yep. She goes into it further. She says, I think you're in denial about your healing process, and I know you're hurt. You limp at school. Did you know that? All the time. Others might not notice, but I do. I see it, and I do it all the time. So I think you're playing a dangerous game with your body, Johnny, and I think if your doctors knew how much pain you are actually in, there's no way they would have signed off and released you to play.
And look at this. I think this was a terrible mistake. I should have never accepted a lift from you. I think you overreacted tonight. I think you handled yourself terribly, and I think it would be best if you and I didn't talk anymore. And he's like, I know. I'm like, girl.
Seriously. Like, and for a 15-year-old girl that has a crush on this guy, like, bravo, because I probably wouldn't have done that.
Especially after finding out he's some hotshot rugby player. She's like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. He's like, I have it handled, and she's like, you clearly don't. And he snaps, you have no clue what you're talking about. I know my own body, and she goes, of course I don't.
Like most girls. She is throwing it like Shannon Lynch. Girl.
And then he's like, stop twisting my words. And I'm like, dude, she's not twisting your words. She's calling you on your shit.
And then she just grabs her bag, and then she leaves, and then she says that she slides through the alleyway so he can't see her. But and this is the last time these two talk to each other in this section that we are covering.
Yes. And he's calling for her. He's upset that she literally is like, I'm done with this conversation. I've told you I'm done with it. I'm getting the fuck out of here. You handled yourself poorly. I'm out. I'm outie. So after that big blow up, we now have chapter 18. Which, can I just point out that Johnny being a lover of animals here, I knew you were an icon and a legend, Johnny Kavanagh, okay?
Oh, absolutely. So chapter 18 is going to be our very first introduction to the Queen Elle Kennedy. And we have a lot to discuss about Elle Kennedy.
Before we get there, I want to talk about his relationship with the dogs, because the way he describes the dogs and their loyalty, I feel, is very important, because loyalty has been a big... When he has this big blow up with Bella in one of the earlier chapters, it's because she's a liar. He hates liars, right? Hates liars. And here he goes on and on about how loyal animals and dogs are, and how that's why he prefers animals and dogs. Once again, pointing out his views on loyalty to the audience. And then we get, obviously, his mom.
Yes. So he walks in and Adele is making dinner. He talks about how fancy his mom looks. She's like a fashion consultant or something. She travels a lot. Both of his parents travel a lot for work. So we discussed this a lot in part 1. So Johnny is left alone. Okay. And he specifies in this chapter that he's basically been left alone until he was since he was 14 years old. I find that a very large problem. I don't care how responsible your child is. For one, I don't trust the rest of the world. Okay?
For 2, for a kid you wanted so badly, why would you, let's be quite honest, abandon them for a large chunk of their teenage years?
We'll get more into those details further down when we get more discussions with John and Adele, but we do know that Johnny was an IVF baby. He was their special, cooked up in a lab, like he even said, he was cooked up in a lab, their perfection baby. They tried so hard, but they have left him alone since he was 14. He said, except for our neighbor, Maura Riley, would drive me to school and training.
Adele it's just a good mom,
and I think that's why John and Adele are the way that they are with the Lynches. I think that they are trying to make up for what they forgot, because Johnny does say, how's school? Have you been eating? How's your friends? She didn't ask about rugby. It was always questions about things like school, my friends, my homework, my day, and God love me, my feelings, but never rugby. I knew that ma'am didn't care about my passion. She just always made it a point to let me know that she cared about the rest of me first and most.
She's a good mom. She is, but she has her faults as well. You know? She's not perfect.
I mean, workaholic parents get picked apart just as much as other parents.
Yeah.
But I really... I
don't know. I feel like the dynamic between I think it's going to be very interesting, because you could say workaholic, but then you have it mentioned here that, like, she goes and spends time with her husband while he's working, right? She chooses to do that instead of being...
Yeah, see, and I think I've said this before. I think that they took advantage of the fact that Johnny is so mature and he done well in school. Because I feel like if he was a Gibsie, they would not be leaving him alone. So then Johnny goes on to say that no one cooks like his mother. So she's a great cook. The woman had birthed me and she had a direct line to my stomach. She does mention that John Kavanagh will be gone for another couple of weeks. Johnny goes in description about just how great of a barrister he is, and the bigger the crime, the longer that he will have to travel. Now, just a side note for theories, Olivia, Grace, Rachel, a lot of us have theorized that we think John Kavanagh is actually going to have a large role within the Lizzie Gibsie storyline, because as we know, he is a lawyer, criminal cases, Mark is a criminal, so we just see John having a really big role in the upcoming books. But then, like we said, just Adele's trying to talk to him and stuff. She asks about his checkup. Is the doctor happy with how you're healing? And Johnny says he didn't go. He doesn't tell her that. But basically telling her everything that she wants to know, because he says if I lied, she'd see right through me. If I told her the truth, she'd panic. So he's kind of just like, shoving food into his mouth, stuff like that. He does make it a point that she would overreact and get on the phone with my father and cry about how I wouldn't show her. Now, this is also a little bit, I find this weird in the fandom, and it's obviously from non-parents that are saying this, but I have seen arguments that think that Elle Kennedy is very inappropriate for wanting to see her son's injury.
No, you don't have kids. That's the bottom line. Or then I question what your parents were like when you were injured.
That's what I'm saying. If you're automatically going to that, then maybe you did not have loving and caring parents. But in most cases, if your parent is expressing concern and they want to see the area, it's because they are actually concerned.
Let me tell you something. I went my dad took me to a shooting range, like an archery range, every weekend when I was a teenager. I think I was like 13. Okay, and I accidentally stood on a pile of ants, fire ants, and they were crawling all up over me, right?
Oh, I can see where this is going.
And I panicked, and my dad and I were stripping my clothes off, and he's like swatting my, like trying to get the ants off of me. Like, no one at that time was like, what's going on? What is he doing with his daughter? Like, no, he knew I was in pain. I was terrified. I was being attacked by ants. He just wanted to protect me.
See, and I think the problem is, and obviously we know from this series that, everybody's life is not perfect. They have things going on, and I've seen this trend a lot on TikTok. So, like, a parent will post a really sweet video or whatever of a little girl laying in her dad's lap, and some of the top comments are like, that shouldn't happen, and responses are like, clearly you did not have a loving dad if your first reaction is to go here.
Yeah. It's weird.
It's very weird, and this is an argument. I haven't seen it a lot lately since R10 and Lizzie and Hughie have kind of taken center stage, but this was an argument last years back. I would see it on Reddit that people thought Adele was a very disgusting and inappropriate mother for wanting to see this, and I'm sorry, I don't care where the injury is. She is a mom checking on her son.
Yeah.
I cannot express that enough. But anyway, like I said, they're just talking, and Johnny's really not giving her much. He's like, I'm gonna go to bed, and then she is like, well, before you go to bed,
it's this whole thing right here.
Let's talk about this newspaper.
Like, by the way, honey, what's this? What is? And she's like, hey, who's this girl? What's going on?
She's excited.
She is.
Because we know down the line with Adele, Johnny's never brought any girls home. Like, this is so exciting to her.
I've never seen you in the papers with friends that look like this one before. It's a gorgeous picture, love. The editor must have thought so too, because they gave you a whole page. Johnny's like, shh.
I'm delighted for you, love. Now, what's her name?
I know. Oh my god, so cute.
Am I going to get anything else? And I will say, because my son has his first girlfriend, and I told Olivia when it happened, I'm like, I feel a little bit like Adele. I'm like, what's her name? What does she do? What are her hobbies? Come on, give me more. I want to know.
You found out about her from a picture too, didn't you?
I was trying to forget that.
Very Adele-like, huh?
I did. I found out from a picture. And I did. I texted the group chat. I'm like, I'm feeling like Elle Kennedy right now. So let's just hope she's like a Shannon and not a Bella.
My gosh. And then she's like, she sure is. She goes, she's a friend. She sure is. And I'm the Virgin Mary. Don't talk about your virginity to me, I groaned. Why would you rather I talk about yours?
Now, this is a little teaser of what is to come ahead, because Johnny will flat out tell her in later chapters when he lost it. And this is, I feel, when Adele starts to lose it. Because I feel like when Johnny starts to because he says so right here. He says, I couldn't lie to her because she'd see right through me. So he just kind of nods. When he starts to tell her, like, actual facts that have happened over the years, that's when she's like, what have I done?
Where have I been?
Where have I been?
Yeah. But you see their banter. They're kind of open with each other. Like,
Yes.
They're not afraid. Like,
this is how my son and I talk. We're very casual, very laid back.
Super, super cute.
I'm just going to give you advice. If you are going to get more out of your kid if you can have these deep, fun conversations with them without, like, the whole time.
Yeah. Although, to be honest, I probably would have died if my mom talked to me this way. I would have been so embarrassed. I would have, like, crawled in a hole.
I was more open with my dad with this kind of stuff in high school than I was with my mom. I was embarrassed to come to my mom, but not my dad. My dad, I was like, let's talk. I have some questions.
Actually, it was more of like my brother. I was very close to my brother.
But yeah, that's basically the extent of that chapter, and I just want to lay out how important it is with Adele's reaction to this newspaper.
Because we get a very different reaction in the very next chapter.
Yeah, this paper came out the same day. Everybody saw it, and now we are going to get the Lynch household perspective of this newspaper.
And chapter 19, Shannon, I call it all hell breaks loose chapter, and we kind of have it building up, right? Because you have the breakdown with Johnny and Shannon in the car. You have Ronan.
Can I take one little pause real quick? Because we did not actually say this in our first deep dive. I want to talk about the description, Teddy's physical description, because a lot of people think Teddy is like this big beer gut, ugly guy. Teddy is actually described as a powerful-looking man clocking in at 6 feet with dark blonde hair and an athletic build that had stuck since his days of hurling. Joey is described to look exactly like him, which is a big problem for Marie. But the point is Teddy is very beautiful looking, so just picture that, okay?
But I want to go back to for the past few chapters, we've been getting a build up to this big explosion. You have the breakdown with Johnny and Shannon in the car, right, where they go their separate ways. You have Johnny kind of being forced to now know that someone else knows about his injury. And then you get this complete breakdown of Shannon's home life. We see the first... You got hints of it, but this is the first.
Teddy's waiting for her in the doorway, waiting for her. That's why I wanted to go back and get his description, because
terrifying.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of fan casts for Teddy, and I'm like, that is not Teddy.
And
first of all, we have to remember, why is Marie afraid of Johnny?
Because he reminds her of Teddy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But she walks through the door, and Teddy's waiting for her, right? And she's already on edge because of what just happened.
And she says he's standing in the small hallway with a rolled up newspaper clutched in his hand, asking me about my day, and that was a terrifying concept.
And then she starts going through her head, why would today be a bad day? Why would today be a bad day? Well, I know the days that he usually gets paid. I don't understand why. And then she's like, oh my God, I forgot.
It was March 1st. It was the first Tuesday of the month, Children's Allowance Day, the day the Irish government made their monthly cash payment to parents for every child they had, which meant hundreds of euros wasted in the bookies and the pubs, which meant weeks of struggling and scraping by would be incurred by our family because of my father's inability to control himself.
And the second she clocks that, she's like, I gotta get the fuck out of Dodge. I gotta go hide. So she tries her best, but he is preventing it.
Yep, and then he's leaning against the doorframe, still clinching the newspaper, blocking my exit. How was school?
And she's like, okay. And he's like, okay, we're paying 4,000 euros for a year for okay. And she's like, oh God.
She says, there it was. There he was. It was good, Dad. I had a productive day. Productive day, he mimicked, tone derisive and cruel. Don't get fucking smart with me, girl.
This goes back to what we had known about Teddy from previous, that he values his sons more than his daughter.
She says that the way he always called me girl, like it was some sort of insult to be female, didn't even irk me tonight.
Well, because he's done it multiple times and she's mentioned it before. But what I find fascinating here is the way he then manipulates and uses her mother working against her.
Yes.
Okay? Throws that right in her face.
He says,
Okay?
"Do you know where your mother is, girl? Breaking her back over you, working herself to the bone because you're a spoiled little who thinks she's better than everyone."
Fascinating considering he sits around all day, spends that money, cheats on her left and right.
And we actually talked about this in episode 1. Shannon mentions in chapter 1 that she had made a solution to them years ago. I'll go live with Auntie Alice. And Teddy's like, no.
And then she's like, I don't think I'm better than anyone, and immediately regrets saying it because it just allows him to keep going.
Then he starts referring to her as a tramp, spreading your legs. And then she's like, I don't have a boyfriend. Don't lie to me. And then he slaps her across the face with that rolled up newspaper. And she says, it might not sound like a painful thing, but when the man yielding the weapon weighed 3 times what I did, it hurt. Explain this then. Explain him.
And her first thought when she sees the newspaper and the photo is, I'm going to die tonight. This is the night he's going to kill me.
Yep. And she just says, he's the captain, Mr. Toomey, the principal, had us all stand in the picture. I don't even know him, Dad, I swear. I knew I should have expected my father's next move. He'd perfected it to a fine art down through the years. But when he clutched my throat and slammed me against the fridge, I was still caught off guard. And we know that this would have gone a lot further if our King Joey had not entered the scene right now. Seconds later, Joey appeared in the doorway looking like a gift sent from God, within a grease-stained face and oil-covered overalls.
He looked relaxed and sounded cheerful, but the tightness around his eyes assured me that he was anything but. Acting like he didn't have a care in the world was Joey's coping mechanism. Mine was turning mute. Immediately Joey coming in changes the entire trajectory of the dynamic in the house.
Joey knew basically what was going to happen with Shannon getting home late, so instantly he's got the lies ready to go. He said, did Aoife stay long when she drove you home?
And she's like, okay. And he's like, this is really hard for me to read. I get very emotional because I grew up in a household with an alcoholic father, right? And my older brother protected me from it. My dad never got physically abusive with me, and actually my dad doted on me and loved me, and it was because my brother took the majority of the beatings. My brother, anything I did wrong, I remember I was smoking when I was like 13, and my dad found the cigarette butts outside, and my brother took the blame for it, and he got beat for it, you know? So seeing this behavior, Joey stepping in, protecting his younger sister here, brings me back to a time where it's very emotional if you've been in a scenario like this, and it's terrifying if you are on edge. And Shannon's terrified for her life here, and she looks at Joey as her angel saving her here, because it would have gotten way worse if he hadn't walked into here. And he knows how to diffuse the situation at this point.
Yeah, I mean, he's got it all planned. Like I said, he's like, oh, here's the cookies that you were looking for, but then Teddy, this is not a halfway house.
And Joey immediately responds with, this is my food, old man.
Bought with my money from my job. And then Teddy, this is my house. And Joey, once again, a house given to you by the government because of us.
And then he goes, don't get smart with me, boy. But his tone lacked its usual punch. Why? Because drunk as he was, our father was quite aware that the shit he pulled with me wouldn't float with my brother.
Yes, and this is when Shannon will go into, she's going to talk about a big blow up that happened back in November. Now, we're going to see this in Saving Six, but basically Shannon says that this was the turning point for their family. This is when Teddy started to look at Joey with fear.
Yes, this is when Joey really wins out in a match with Teddy, and it changes everything, right? Because now Teddy is no longer top alpha of the household, and Shannon says that here. Joey is the top alpha of the household now, right? So you get a description of what happened.
Yeah, because she says, however depressing that day was for us as the children of toxic parents, it also signified a shift in power. That day's events showed our father that he was not the top dog anymore. There was a new dog in town, one who'd taken one too many beatings from him and was prepared to shut his shit down at any moment. So then this is when Joey is like, Shan, go to bed. Now, Shannon will go up to bed and she'll stick her headphones on for what she says is a while. We get the rest of this scene in Redeeming Six, and we just know what is happening while Shannon has her headphones on. And it's just, like Olivia said,
We
it
know there's a
really
big blow
shows
up.
what Joey puts himself in the line of fire so that his siblings
Doesn't
don't have
hesitate.
to.
Doesn't hesitate. Right?
Doesn't
And I
hesitate.
also, though, I want to point out, we get this scene from Joey's POV. What we don't get here from Shannon's POV is that what causes Joey to finally break, right? Joey does his best to de-escalate and work around the situation, right? But there is a breaking point that we see later, that a line Teddy crosses that Joey is just not going to allow. And that's really what causes it. But Joey does his best to really kind of, because he knows his dad, to walk that fine line and skirt around to prevent it from getting physical. But unfortunately, it doesn't happen here. And then Shannon's in her room. And if you've ever been in a household with abusive parents or parents who fight and scream at each other, this is something you're used to. Going into your room, putting your Walkman on, your discs, like your headphones, and trying to tune all of that out with music. And that is really what Shannon does here, right?
And then Shannon does go on to say while she's listening to music that she normally knows the schedule really well. She knows her dad's routine and his patterns, but because of everything that happened with Johnny, the events of today threw her off guard, and she calls it a fatal mistake. Johnny had thrown me. I let my guard down.
That is so important to note here, because here she goes. I forgot. And now we have a negative association of Johnny with Shannon, right? Because of this. So this starts then turning her opinion on Joey around. On Johnny around, right? Because of what just happened with Teddy.
And then Joey goes to his room, so she will kind of slip in there, and he's sitting in his boxer shorts holding a wad of toilet paper to his mouth. She's asking if he's okay, and he's just like, I'm grand, Shan, just go to bed. And he's like, whatever, it's the same old stuff. And then that's when they start talking, and then Joey's like, so tell me about Kavanagh.
Joey does something Lizzie did, very similar, where he warns Shannon about what he's heard about Johnny, right?
Yes.
About Johnny's reputation. Mm-hmm. No one points that out here, but Joey does warn Shannon, hey, don't get your hopes up with this guy. I've heard stuff about him.
Yeah,
right?
because it's less of him being a fuckboy and more like he's leaving. He's got this whole plan, and I don't want you to get attached to someone that's going to be gone.
Also, what's fascinating here is you get another thing of Shannon points out Johnny reminds her a lot like Joey, and Joey has slept around, and while he's had a long-term girlfriend, who knows how long he's going to stay. She literally says, who knows how long that's going to stay.
She said Joey has left a trail of broken hearts through Ballylagan.
Yes. But she specifically mentions, there's a part here where she says, he has a long-term girlfriend, but I don't know how long he's going to stay faithful for. Like, she specifically word for word mentions that in here.
Mm-hmm.
Which is interesting because we know Joey is very
right, but that's also perspective, because it just shows really how Joey doesn't bring Aoife around all that much. So this is what Shannon sees, you know?
Well, we know why Joey doesn't bring Aoife around a lot, right?
Exactly. Now, before they do get into Johnny, though, real quick, they do have, one of their moments, and once again, Joey is like, you and I are out of here, and Shannon's like, well, what about the boys? And Joey is just like, I'm not their father. And who knows, maybe mom will come to her senses before they completely fuck them up like they did us and Darren. Either way, there's nothing I can do about it. I can't take care of them, Shannon. I can't afford it. I don't have time. I'm getting us out of here. That's the best I can do. And we will really see this in Saving Six, because Joey basically has this plan. And as soon as Marie announces that she is pregnant with the one that she will lose, Joey, it's like everything's over for him. And he's like, and that's it. That was my final nail in the coffin.
Also very important here, because it flashes back to our first interaction with Johnny and Shannon, where she's constantly asking him to promise.
I underlined this. I believe you, I told him, and I did. He'd been telling me this plan since Darren walked out of the door 5 years ago and left us to deal with our father's whiskey wrath alone. I believed that my brother meant every word he was saying, every promise he was making.
Either way, the child inside of me clung to the promise for all it was worth, and promises like that to girls like me were worth everything. So this is
And then
another
he's like,
flashback.
and then I think he's like, enough of the parental bullshit. Tell me about Johnny Kavanagh.
And so then he talks about the academy, and this is where she finally realizes what a big deal Johnny Kavanagh is, right? Because of Joey, he's telling her.
Yeah, because she says he's the one that knocked me out with the ball. And he's like, what? And he's like, you'd think he wouldn't be doing something like that with how good he is. And then Joey's like, you really don't get how good he is, do you? And he's like, I can't believe you don't know.
Right here, even, he says, don't get your hopes up. And she's like, what do you mean, get my hopes up? And he's like, whatever shit teenage girls get their hopes up on. She's like, I'm not getting my hopes up. He goes, I'm not thick, Shan. I'm well aware of the way young ones get all hung up and go all fangirly on fellas in his position. All I'm saying is don't read into him taking a picture with you or giving you a lift home tonight. He more than likely does that with a lot of girls, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, I wasn't. He's like, you sure? And she's like, yes, Joey, yes, Joey.
But that's when he says, from what I've heard, he's gonna be out of here after leaving CERT, so pining after him would be a bad idea. Clubs are already crying out for him, even in the Southern Hemisphere. It's only a matter of time before he's contracted out to the highest bidder.
And she's like, why would I care? I don't even like rugby. And he's like, I'm just trying to give you some brotherly advice. And she goes, he's really moody and he drives like a maniac. And his car is a disgrace. It's so filthy.
And then she asks him what happens to a boy when he tears his, is it adductor?
Adductor.
Adductor muscle? And then he's like, what?
I'm sorry, but can we also talk about why does Joey know what surgery this entails? He like goes into detail about the surgery of what happens with an adductor muscle. Why would Joey know about this? I love that she uses Lizzie as the scapegoat here. She's like, Lizzie, her boyfriend Pierce has this issue.
Right? Well, you can tell her that I said the poor bastard deserves an unlimited supply of morphine and a bed and an endless supply of ice packs for his balls. And then she's like, why? Because when the surgeons cut you open, and he's like, nope, I can't even think about it without going out of sympathy for the poor bastard. But what if, no, good night, Shannon. Thanks for my future nightmares.
And here we go. Everything that happened in this chapter with this one paragraph reinforces Shannon's ability to not trust men except for Joey. As she says here, I had a superstar brother of my own, a can do no wrong in anyone's eyes pretty boy who was praised for his performance on the pitch and rewarded with free reign of it. Joey, as good as he was to me, was a total man whore who had left a trail of broken hearts from Ballylagan to Cork City. He had been seeing his girlfriend Aoife exclusively for about 8 months, and he seemed completely devoted to her, but the jury was still out on whether he was fully reformed from his old ways or not. Experience told me that boys were dogs, right? And fathers were bastards, and men couldn't be trusted. So this whole chapter reinforces Shannon's inability to trust men.
Yep. Not really realizing just how down bad Joey is for Aoife.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I pointed it out. I was
perspective,
like,
guys. This is why I want to say you cannot
Joey
take John's perspective of Hughie saying, oh, I've been with Katie since second year as law.
Yeah.
Because you have Shannon, Joey's little sister, saying, oh, I think Joey might, like, dump Aoife and go back to his old ways.
He might out on her. Who knows if he's reformed? Mm-hmm. We as readers know he would. Yeah.
Well, I mean, for one, Aoife is almost 3 months pregnant at this point. Now, another thing, too, we're almost at the end of this one, guys. We have one more chapter to cover, but I really want to keep note in this deep dive of when Joey is going to really spiral, because we know after Christmas, he kind of promised Aoife to play it clean, and then, as Olivia said a little earlier, something is going to happen with Teddy. And this is when Joey is just, we have Johnny and Gibsie cleaning him up, which is another one of my favorite parts. It just, a lot on Joey, and a lot of it is portrayed here.
Yeah.
All right, so then our final chapter of the day, Mother Knows Best, only in the movies.
This chapter is incredibly frustrating to me because we get a lot of Marie here. And we really see the cracks in Marie. And A lot of people can defend Marie all you want, but it doesn't excuse the emotional neglect and abuse she puts her kids through, and it's really shown through in this chapter here, right?
Mm-hmm.
The fact that she wakes up and her mom's waiting in the kitchen, and she's immediately like, "My mom's waiting for me in the kitchen. What's going on?" Right? That's not normal behavior.
Well, and I also, it's the fact that, because she does this with she does it with Joey too. It's, right away she starts with your dad's not a bad guy. Like,
I'm gonna tell you now. I grew up with a mother like this. Like I said, I grew up with an alcoholic father who was very abusive. And when my brother ended up moving out of the house, I was left alone to my father's alcoholic abuse. And there was a time where he got super frustrated, and I locked myself in the bathroom to get away from him. And he was like trying to break down the door to get to me. Um, my younger sister intervened, and she ended up getting like shoved up against a wall for it. The very next day, my mother sat us down in the living room and told us, "You need to forgive him. That is your blood. That is your flesh and blood, and he loves you." And so when I see this behavior here, and people are like, but Marie went through her own," but that doesn't excuse what she's now put on her children, who she's
children.
supposed to protect.
This is why generational trauma, you're never going to break the cycle.
No. And she does a lot of incredibly manipulative things in this chapter. Her behavior in this chapter is very manipulative.
Well, she's basically backing Teddy up with the slut shaming.
Not only that, but then she threatens to tell, "Don't make me go tell your dad that you're talking to me this way." What? Excuse me? That is disgusting.
Yeah, and then, I mean, Shannon starts to get in with her. She's like, he split Joey's lip, Mom, over a packet of biscuits. And if he's worried about money, then maybe he should stop gambling and drinking the children's allowance. My mother flinched at my words, but I was glad I had spoken them. They needed to be said. I just wish she'd start listening. And then, because, yep, Marie doesn't say anything about the money. Your father told me you were late home from school. He was very upset about a picture of you in the paper with a boy.
She's trying to defend Teddy's behavior.
Because Shannon even says, so it's my fault he beat my brother and tried to strangle me for getting home late, or having a school picture taken, or for moving to Tommen? Which one, Mom? Or is everything I do wrong? Am I to blame for everything that goes wrong in this family? No, of course not, Shannon. She quickly tried to retract. You're not to blame, and your father loves you very much. But
Joey knows better. Joey knows better than to rile him up.
Joey knows better than to rile him up like that.
Blaming Joey.
Blaming your children.
For Teddy's behavior. And then she even goes further. "You can't speak to me like this. You have no idea how hard it is coming home to every night to World War III. Really? She has no idea how hard it is?
Then she goes, I'm tired of this, Shannon. I'm exhausted from living like this, and I'm tired of being judged by my own children.
You need to show me some respect. You can't talk to me like I'm shit on your shoe." Well,
yeah, but the Shannon's like, I don't appreciate being called a whore every time I walk through the front door. Because that's what he calls me, Mom. According to my father, I'm nothing but a dirty whore. Well, he was worried about you.
Once again, excusing the behavior.
And that's when Shannon calls it, he was worried about me, so he called me a whore? Because that makes sense. Because you were in that picture. And then he says, I spoke to your father about it, and he's promised not to do it again. I don't think she did. Marie wouldn't talk to Teddy about that. Are you fucking kidding me? No.
Promise not to do it again. He still physically assaulted your children.
Now, then here's where I get upset, because obviously Teddy bought the lie that Aoife brought her home, but Marie's not letting this go. She's like, who really took you home?
I can't stand this part. She pissed me so fucking off. Oh my god. She was already on my shit list, but then this whole scene where she's like, who actually took you home? Because I know she was working. What are you trying to do here? Why are you trying to make shit worse for your child?
Which also I want to find interesting that she knows Aoife's work schedule when she fucking hates Aoife.
I know. And she doesn't care about Joey, really.
Nope. I actually hate Marie more in the 6 duet than I do the 13 duet.
Yeah, because her behavior towards Joey. And poor Joey just wants to be.
Makes me break down so much.
This is her turning the narrative. The manipulation. Turning the narrative. I know you lied about where you were. I know you lied about who took you home. Like, it is pure narcissistic manipulative behavior here.
Yep, and then when Shannon's getting mad, then she once again turns it around on Johnny. That boy is not supposed to go anywhere near you. He hurt you, Shannon. I'm phoning the school.
And that's when Shannon, and this is why I wanted to do that callback, because remember Johnny said, I hope she stands up to me with her mom. What does Shannon do right here? She defends Johnny and she says, you need to leave Johnny alone. Okay? He's done nothing wrong here. Absolutely nothing. I mean it, Mom. If you call the school making trouble for Johnny, I will tell them everything you don't want them to know.
Yep, and I underlined this in my last reread. You are so concerned with fighting the bullies at school, Mom. I sobbed, tears streaming down my face, when the biggest bully of them all lives under this roof. And then she flinched like I had physically slapped her. She was feeling right now was a cold, hard dose of reality smacking her in the face.
Then the manipulation continues because she knows that Shannon has got her, and Shannon storms out of the house. But what does she do? That she tries to revert back into loving mother, just concerned about her daughter.
Oh, you forgot your coat.
You forgot your coat, baby girl. Oh, get the. I could spot a manipulative bitch a mile away, Marie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, her behavior with her children here, she fails on every front as a mother.
Yeah, and I mean, I will give her the excuse that her brain is forever broken. Everything that happened to her when she was 14 years old.
Yeah.
But
not an excuse.
It
is, I understand, but you still had a duty when you decided to have children and continue to have children with a man, to allow, you are supposed to be your children's protector. And this is why Shannon resented, and this, I mean, as someone who resented my mother for being weak and staying with my father, I understand Shannon here 100%.
Well, yeah, and I just think, once again, this just goes down to generational trauma, and clearly no one was looking out for Marie. Because her parents disowned her when she got pregnant.
Yeah.
So, no one's looking out for Marie, so then in turn, Marie's not looking out for her own children.
My husband is reading this, and he brought up a really great point, because he grew up in a household where his mom worked and his dad did not. And he said that you cling to the semblance of, well, at least my mom is doing something, right? His mom was neglectful like Marie was, and it was because he said, my mom was so focused on being bullied by my father that she really wasn't able to pay attention to us also being bullied by the father, And I think that's such a fascinating parallel here as well. She's so traumatized that she really sticks her head in the sand and cannot acknowledge the trauma her children are going through at his hands as well.
No, and it's a cycle that won't stop. It's frustrating for sure, and that's why, my emotions with Marie, my opinion on Marie has never changed with how much I read it. It's just I get more frustrated with her in certain POVs than I do others.
Yeah.
Because like with Joey, with Shannon, we just saw here the manipulative emotions and stuff, and then how when she sees Shannon getting upset, she tries to circle it back, ring it back in. She doesn't do that with Joey. She's very like, you're just like him.
Yeah. It's a manipulative, narcissistic behavior that there's actually there's a psychological term for it. I can't remember what it was, but she's kind of an emotional vampire with Joey.
But you guys, this was just part 2 of our Binding 13 deep dive. As you can see, we've just got so much to discuss. So much going on. I mean, the Claire and Gibsie stuff alone, I'm like, what is going on here? Why do they act this way?
It's just very different than the rest of the series. Honestly.
Yeah, and I think it just goes back to, I don't think that they've been communicating with each other at school all that much, which would actually make sense, because if Lizzie is really the only person Claire hangs out with at school, that would actually kind of line up.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why Shannon is kind of the catalyst for, in Claire's eyes, hope. Yeah. Hey, the gang's getting back together again type of deal.
Yeah, for sure.
And we know that does not go the way she wants it to go.
No. But things are starting to heat up. It's getting spicy. It's getting sad.
It's getting dramatic.
It's a lot of things.
It's a lot of things happening, and those are some big moments. We got way more glimpses into Shannon's home life and Johnny's home life, and why they behave the way they do, and why they have the ideas of relationships as they do.
Yeah, we both got a one-on-one conversation with their mothers from both of them, and just how very different those conversations were.
Yeah. So, okay, guys, we will see you next time. We will be covering chapters 21 through 30, yes?
Yes, 21 through 30. I just checked, there is an extended scene in this one. It is where Johnny and Shannon go to the movies.
Okay.
So we will cover that. It is in this Bloom's edition. We hope you guys had a wonderful Thanksgiving if you are here in the United States. If you are other places in the world, I hope you just had a great random Thursday.
Yeah. And we will see you next time for our continuation on our deep dive of Binding 13. Are you reading along with us? Did you see anything we might have missed? Are you also picking up the little hints? What are your thoughts? Please leave a comment below.
How are you guys interpreting Claire and Gibsie's relationship in this first book? I'd really like to know some other perspectives on that as well.
Yeah, agreed. So, thank you guys. Happy holidays, and we will see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.